The Udoloy is not a ship I play very often because frankly, I don't like it all that much. In fact, I much prefer the Tashkent, the alternative Tier 7 Russian destroyer, but today we're playing the Udoloy, mostly because as I was scrolling across the screen of Tier 7 ships that I have in my port, I noticed that on the Udoloy, I have less ship XP than I do on pretty much any other Tier 7, and with the arrival of Tier 8 imminent in the game, I've seen the footage, and from what I can tell, we are getting a Tier 8 Russian destroyer when Tier 8 debuts. And that Tier 8 Russian destroyer, from all indications, is the Delny, which on PC is the tech tree successor to the Tashkent, having newly replaced the Khabarovsk since it was removed from the tech tree on PC. Thus, it is a little bit of a curious decision that they're placing the Delny, if that is in fact the Tier 8 destroyer, at Tier 8 in this game. And probably that destroyer is going to come after Tashkent on the tech tree, but small shot, it comes after Udoloy. Better safe than sorry, I always say. So I figured I would take the Udoloy out to get a little bit more ship XP in it. Right now there are some free missions you can get from the store. If you just go to the main store page, they're called something like Path to Tier 8. And they let you get a little bit of extra ship XP for each of the 4 nations that are getting Tier 8 ships just by playing Tier 7 ships of those nations. So there's that component to it. And also sometimes if I take out a ship that I don't think I really like, sometimes I get that moment in a game where everything just clicks, and all of a sudden I appreciate the ship more than I ever did, and I start playing it more. So part of me was hoping that that moment would happen in this game with the Udoloy for me. Of course, it did not happen, but something else happened. Instead of getting that moment where the Udoloy simply clicked for me, I got a very impressive Kraken indeed. Now, if you've been watching World of Warships Legends on YouTube or Twitch or wherever you watch video-related content for this game, you'll probably have seen games with very impressive Krakens. Those games will probably involve the player doing a lot of damage with his ship, perhaps getting some fancy dev strikes with torpedoes or guns or something like that. Just generally doing very spectacular and flashy and impressive things in the course of getting the Kraken. And if that is what you are expecting when I say impressive Kraken, I'm sorry to disappoint you. No, this Kraken that I'm getting today in the Udoloy is impressive for another reason. In fact, I suspect that this Kraken is the lowest damage Kraken I have ever achieved in Tier 7. I only will end up doing 27,635 damage to get this Kraken. And you may be thinking to yourself, well, that is an especially impressive low amount of damage. How did you achieve such a feat, Xarkun? Well, I will tell you. It simply involves kill securing. As you can see there, my team was removing the hit points from that Fletcher very, very rapidly. They had him almost down to nothing, but, you know, there were problems with their aim, right? Clearly they were incapable of sinking that Fletcher without my assistance. They desperately needed my assistance, and that is not the only time in this game that they're going to desperately need my assistance to sink a very, very tricky ship to sink. Now, the Fletcher has been dispatched, but there's still a Tashkent over here, and we are spotted by him now, plus we're spotting him now. We take aim at him and we miss because we don't lead as he starts going forward, which is a great shot on our part. But don't worry, our teammates are chiming in. You can see the cruiser there next to us doing a real number to that Tashkent. And, well, Once again, my teammates' aim proves suspect, and they're just not able to finish the Tashkent off, so I am forced to do it. And there's my second kill of the game. We have done 10,000 damage altogether. I think the majority of that came from the Fletcher and the Tashkent. And while I might be a little tongue-in-cheek with my description of doing all this damage and my description of my teammates' aiming accuracy, you can judge for yourself whether you think I'm being serious. Even though I'm saying all that, I don't want to minimize the fact that doing damage to destroyers is very valuable. This game does not reward you by the total final number of damage done. Instead, it rewards you by the percentage of a ship's hit points that you remove. So if you remove 5k hit points from a destroyer with 20,000 hit points, that's a quarter of its HP. That's the same thing, essentially, as removing 25% of the hit points from a battleship. The only difference is the number that you get once you've taken 25% of a battleship's hit points is going to be bigger than when you've taken 25% of a destroyer's hit points. But that's neither here nor there, I suppose. It's mostly just an explanation for why I'm going to get such a high XP count after this game. That, doing damage to destroyers, I'm going to end up sinking all 3 of the enemy destroyers in this game. But that, and the fact that I have taken 2 capture circles, 1 solo and 1 assisted, is going to add up to a healthy amount of XP at the end of the game. And the amount of XP that you have at the end of the game, I think, is a better indication of how much you've actually contributed to the outcome of the game than is the total damage done number. In any case, we did take a bit of a risk right there. Frankly, at the time I was playing this game, I was getting kind of bored because I felt like nothing was happening. So I didn't feel any compunction about sailing out right in front of a full health Prince Eugen. It was just a matter of luck that our teammates happened to be where they were and were able to remove so many hit points from the Eugen, so that we didn't have to deal with him for too long. But we had full HP. He's taken us down to half HP after we used one of our heals. Here, though, we see one of our final victims, the Odin. He's on very low health, but as usual, our teammates are not capable of taking him out. Nor are they capable of taking out this Ostergotland. In fact, they can't even shoot at this ship, so I'm the only one who can shoot at him. He's a destroyer, very important. Last remaining enemy destroyer. He's going to be one of the ones that I sink for sure. And there he goes for our 4th kill of the game. Meanwhile, Odin is still alive because, as I said, my teammates just cannot take him out. They require my assistance to do so. So I begin opening fire on the Odin. I'm aware he has sonar, and he's getting very close to my smoke screen, so he really needs to go down. But don't worry, with this final salvo, the Odin will be ended, you see? I took away his remaining 26 hit points, and there is the Kraken with 27,635 damage done. The lowest damage Kraken I have ever achieved. I know, extremely impressive. I'm sure you are impressed. Let me know how impressed you are in the comments. And tell me, have you ever achieved a Kraken with this low amount of damage, or have you seen anybody else who has? That'd be something I'd be very curious to know. I'm sure if I asked MetaJerk what his lowest damage Kraken is in the Udoloy, well, maybe he'd have a lower total than me. I don't know. I suppose I'll go ask him after I post this video. Give the video a like if you enjoyed it. Consider subscribing if you haven't already, and I will see you next time. Goodbye.